Hey there, welcome back to another video. This time it is of the 2018 film Searching. Now this is a film that I really was looking forward to. I saw the trailers for it, had a concept that I thought was interesting. I like the approach that it was taking to visually. This is a fairly unique concept in terms of a storytelling device. The storytelling device of a film that takes place from the majority of the time in a point of view of someone on a computer. And there were some other films that had done this. Unfriended, and I believe Unfriended Dark Web, I think, also did that too. And I did like Unfriended. I haven't seen the sequel yet. I haven't heard very good things about it. But I did like Unfriended. But I have to be honest, Searching perfects that particular approach. And I really don't think there's going to be another film that's going to take this particular concept and this visual style and do a better job than Searching. This was the best that it can possibly get, in my opinion, with this particular concept, because you're able to get a decent amount of character development through some really clever writing and through the performances by the cast, which is they're very limited. And I'm not saying limited in terms of their performances, but I'm saying limited in terms of what they're given. So they have to really excel at what they're given, because a lot of the film is just a character searching through files and different things and YouTube videos and going on websites and stuff like that on the internet and on their computer. So that is something where you don't see a lot of character, but thankfully the film has a really clever idea of using FaceTime and Skype and other elements like that to really show more of the main character, who is David Kim, who's searching for his daughter who's gone missing. Now, this film is directed by Aneesh Chaganty, and I don't know what else that this director has done before, but I can definitely say that this is a really dynamic and fantastic directing job. Gets the most out of his actors and his actresses. I think it's a man. Yeah. Apparently, this is his feature film debut. You know what? Really impressive. I'm even more impressed by his direction, since it was the first time he's ever directed something. I'm really looking forward to seeing what he's going to do next, because this is obviously a director who knows what he's doing. Now, like I said, he got the most out of his actors, despite the fact that there was not a whole lot of scenes for these actors to really stretch their acting muscles. John Cho gets the most screen time, understandably so, because he is the lead and he is the protagonist. But with the other actors and supporting cast, they also do a really good job as well, like Debra Messing as Detective Rosemary Vick, Michelle Law, who is Margot Kim, who is David's daughter who goes missing, who's the whole topic and focal point for this entire film and for the title, Searching. Sara Sohn also did a really good job as Pam Kim, David's wife and Margot's mother, who's only in it briefly, but still makes makes a solid impact. Joseph Lee plays his brother, who I also felt, even though he had a few scenes here and there, he also did a really solid job. And there's a few other actors and actresses who played like Margot's classmates and so on and so forth, who also did a good job performance-wise. So the director managed to take a plot and a concept that is not necessarily that easy to really pull off in terms of getting the most out of his actors, and managed to do that. And managed to do that in a way that I thought was really exemplary, which is pretty impressive for a first-time director. And I also felt that the film, directing-wise, was really well handled. It wasn't just random chaos, which could easily happen with this kind of concept and with this kind of visual representation for the story. The film's also written by Aneesh Chaganty as well as Sev Onihanian, and I really feel that this script is one of the better scripts that I've seen from 2018 because there's few lines of dialogue and few moments where the actors are on screen and really giving their all and emoting, but those sequences are really effective, and even more so than maybe some of the other films that would have this type of approach or take this type of plot, which is a father who's distraught, who's searching for his kid, and along the way learns a lot of things about himself that maybe he doesn't know his daughter as much as he thinks he does, and so on and so forth. But like I said, the bulk of the film is from his point of view while he's searching through the internet and through files on his computer and on his daughter's computer and on his wife's computer and all these other things. So there really isn't a lot of screen time for those traditional moments where an actor really delivers that type of performance that connects them emotionally with an audience. But through very clever writing, which shows the progression of David Kim's relationship with his daughter through the computer and other elements through the computer, you're able to have that emotional connection, and the film is able to have a really big beating heart inside of it, despite the fact that it is, for the most part, taking place from the point of view of someone on the computer. So yeah, the script is a real standout for me because this is a fine line that and not necessarily a fine line, but a balance that the writers have to come up with that is not really that easy to do because of the fact that you have to really execute your visuals almost to perfection. And the script has to have all these different beats be as effective as possible. And the script manages to do that. Now, this film also, I thought, had a score by Torrin Borrowdale that I thought was really stellar. It's subtle, but there's quite a few moments in the score that I thought were really cool and I thought were really heartfelt. In particular, there's this main theme that the film uses for the heartbeat of the movie, essentially, and it comes in and out throughout the film, and I really like that bit of music in the film. The cinematography by Juan Sebastian Baron, it's fine. This isn't really a film where cinematography is really going to be a paramount or something that you're really going to need great cinematography. It's serviceable, and that's all that the film needed. Editing by Nick Johnson and Will Merrick, though, is excellent, and this film needed that. This film had to have that type of editing in order to make the pacing as quick as it is in the film, and also in order to help the different twists and turns that the film goes through and the film takes the audience on. So the editing needed to be tight and it needed to be taut, and thankfully it was definitely that. The film is about 102 minutes, but it goes by at a really good pace because of editing and because of how well it's written. And I don't really want to give away that much about the film. This is going to be a fairly short review because I don't want to give the film away. I really feel that if you haven't seen the film yet, you should wait till it comes out on home video or streaming and give it a watch, because I just don't want to give things away. I will say this. There was a particular twist in the film that I did not see coming. I thought it did a really good job executing it and keeping me off the trail. There were moments in the story where I did figure things out before the protagonist did. I'm my own antagonist in this review. But But yeah, there were moments where I did figure things out before the protagonist did, but it didn't detract from the overall story or the overall experience that much, unlike some other movies, because I wasn't bored with the film. I feel if I was bored with the movie and the proceedings and the plot, then that would be more of a problem. But I wasn't, so it wasn't that big of a deal to me. And thankfully, there were other pieces of the puzzle that I wasn't able to fit in place. So the film was still more than well enough of a satisfying mystery in order to justify my choice to sit down and watch it. Now, this is not a horror film, so if you're expecting something like Unfriended, you're going to be disappointed. So don't expect that from this movie. This is more of a suspense thriller. 100% more of a suspense thriller. And I do agree with one of the critics who said, a lot of the critics have been saying it's gripping, it's got Hitchcock levels of suspense, it's a technical marvel. And I agree with all of that. It is Hitchcockian in a lot of the ways where it unravels all these different plot threads. And definitely gripping. And a big part of why it's so gripping is not only just the screenplay and how stellar it is and how spectacularly written the script is. It's also because of the main crux of the film, which is John Cho. John Cho is asked to carry this film on his shoulders. And he does it and then some. This is easily one of, if not the best performance of his career. He plays this father who you sympathize with immediately, and you really do become attached to this character, and you want him to figure out what has happened to his daughter, where is she, and I also felt the film's script did a really good job in terms of not only throwing him for a loop every now and then, but justifying a lot of his actions, and really helping you root for him. And despite the circumstances that happen, the film really does an admirable job making you really want him to be the one that proves his own suspicions correct. That even though he's going a little bit farther than maybe a father should in terms of trying to solve this mystery, the film ultimately makes all of his hard work, all of his sacrifice, and all of the risks that he has taken in the film well worth it. Because the film actually does have an ending that isn't really quite common with these type of films nowadays. So that's another aspect of the story and the script that I have to give the film big kudos to, because it could have easily went a different route and it chose not to, and I really respected that. And I keep mentioning heart, but that's a perfect way to describe one of the strongest elements of this film, the heart. It has a lot of heart to it, and for me, that goes a long way for a lot of movies. If you have heart to the film, it helps enhance everything else in the movie, especially if you're trying to have a film where you're trying to have suspense and thrills, and you're hinging the entire film upon essentially one performance. And it really does help when you have a character that is that likable. And yeah, John Cho, he has a great personality, he has great charisma. It's a character that you latch on to early and often, and that is a big reason why this film works. Debra Messing also is really, she's amazing in her own right as Detective Rosemary Vick, and she is a nice, let's say, building, not necessarily building block, but she's a nice support for other elements in the film, and I don't think the film would be as effective without her performance as well. Now, I also want to mention how this film really does a absolutely phenomenal job incorporating all these different social media aspects to the film. I thought not only do you see different types of windows that are used throughout the movie. Showing Windows XP I thought was brilliant. I thought that was really cool because that really helped show a progression of time in a way that wasn't technically your typical montage or some of these other things. So I thought that was really a clever and not necessarily unique, but definitely a great idea. And for people like myself who grew up with Windows XP, that was a nice trip down memory lane. And so not only do you have different forms of Windows and the Mac computers and stuff like that, because you have Windows XP at the start, and then I think it goes to Macs later on, MacBooks and so on and so forth. But it also does a really phenomenal job with the social media aspects, with the UCast and the YouTube, and you even get to see the original YouTube, which in the beginning, which I thought was really a nice touch, and Messenger and FaceTime and all these other things. But you also have pictures and things like that, the Facebook pages, all these other things, and so on and so forth. And I really do feel the film handles all those aspects brilliantly and masterfully. And I definitely do agree with one of the critics that say it's a technical marvel. A big reason why it's a technical marvel is because it's seamless. All of these different aspects, the news footage, the YouTube videos, the Facebook pages, the UCast page, all of these things are seamlessly integrated into the plot and into the overall story. They're not just window dressing. It's not just an aesthetic thing. They are actually every bit as important to the story as John Cho's character David Kim is, or Debra Messing's character of Rosemary Vick, or John Cho's character's brother, Peter, played by Joseph Lee, so and even Margot. So these are all aspects and elements to the story that are important. They're not just, oh, look, that's cool. No, they're really important to the story, and that's why it is 100% definitely a technical marvel, if not a technical masterpiece. So, those are really the only other things I wanted to mention about the film. I really don't know what else to say about Searching, except it's a stellar film. It's a stunning film at times. It kept me captivated. It kept me gripped throughout the entire running time. It's got a great lead in John Cho and a plot that has a few twists and turns that you won't see coming, and a really cool, interesting, and intriguing visual approach when it comes to storytelling. So, I mean, I really don't have anything that I can really say that I personally didn't like about the movie. I thought everything really clicked. Everything worked. The acting, there wasn't a single bad performance among anybody in the cast. The direction was really impressive for a first-time director. The screenplay, despite all these different moments where it could really fall flat on its face, it does not manage to do that, and it ends up succeeding despite all of the different pitfalls that were placed in front of it, because it could have easily have failed, considering all these different things and all these different elements that had to tie together in order to make it a good movie, let alone a great film. And it did not do that. It managed to jump over those hurdles with ease. So I have to give the film immense credit for that. And even the score is solid. And even the score has some bits of music that are memorable and tug at the heartstrings or stay with you. This is a film that I definitely want to watch again. I really enjoyed it, and I'm looking forward to adding it to my collection. And I don't know what else to say about the film, except if I were to rate it out of 5 stars, I would give Searching 5 out of 5. It's in my top 3 easily of 2018. Like I said, I don't really see anything wrong with it technically. I don't see anything wrong with it from a storytelling perspective. I don't see anything wrong with it when it comes to the acting or directing, or and when it comes to any of the other secondary filmmaking aspects. I don't see anything wrong with it there. It's just one of those films where it's as seamless as you could possibly get when it comes to multiple different elements. So it's a tour de force. It's a terrific film, and definitely check it out sometime if you haven't already. And yeah, that's those are my thoughts on Searching. And stay tuned for more reviews, and I will see you later. See ya.